All right, welcome back to this week's episode of Ribs Real Estate and Ramblings. I'm Roy May, your host, Bock Realty Group. And we're going to double up on Bock Realty Group. So this is obviously, well, you may not know him. It's possible. You might recognize his voice, though. This is Gabe Bock.
Howdy.
He's with me at Bock Realty, Bock Realty Group. We'll get into that. But as always, coming to you from Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue here in Aggieland, right off the bypass. Every single episode, I'm going to say this. Fantastic people, fantastic barbecue. If you're in town, you got to stop by. Sides, meat, all of it's great.
Honestly, are there any better ribs in town? I can't think of any. These ribs are fantastic.
Yeah, no, they're outstanding.
How you been, man?
Always great to, that's the thing, like we work together, but we don't always get to see each other. It's like we'll go weeks at a time without seeing each other because everybody's...
very familiar to me, though, because back in the TexAgs Radio fan show days, you would always be kind of over there. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to doing content and looking at and being very jealous.
I would be where Hunter Shirtliff was.
I know, but at least I'm kind of going this way. Like if we had reversed
it would be completely awkward.
And I remember kind of looking like this and being very jealous at how well conditioned your hair is. Because, I pay good money for this haircut.
I work at it. I do.
0.0, but I do have to buy two sets of trimmers per year to keep up with.
That's fair. Well, and see, I finally had to get a haircut, but I still believe in the whole "the higher the hair, the closer to God" thing. That's absolutely the thing.
Well, when we first talked about this, the idea was sort of like the hot sauce, the wings thing.
Yeah.
You're interviewing Matt Damon, and he's going nuts trying to answer questions.
I'm just not trying to kill anybody with hot sauce.
So I'm bringing it back to the original. I remember being in the room months ago. Mm-hmm. Ribs, real estate with Roy and other ramblings. I think we kind of tossed the name around. And the idea was like, let's get as filthy with it as possible. So my plan is to keep eating while answering questions.
Gabe's going to embrace this.
And get as dirty as possible without messing up Casey's mic.
That's right.
And without getting any sauce on my shirt.
See, I'm one of those taking a bold approach wearing white, while there's barbecue.
But you're helping me out because this is in the afternoon, kind of late afternoon. Kid duty. The Rangers are going for the division championship tonight. That's why I got my old school Rangers hat on. And we got football practice. We got 2 rounds of piano. So I'm not getting dinner tonight. So this is perfect.
Oh, that's fair.
You're doing me a favor, my man.
All right. So Gabe is the new, luxury build and new construction specialist for the team. Kind of like I'm the investor specialist. I do farm and ranch. That's not all we do, obviously. But those are some of the areas that we specialize in within the team.
In this market, you'll do anything for anybody.
This is true.
It's like that. What was Pat Hill, the coach at Fresno State? I'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. Yep. I'll sell real estate to anybody, anytime, any place. It doesn't matter. And if I can't do it, I'm calling you.
Within Texas.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. As far as our license will go.
Exactly.
So how about this? It's already been 2 years it's been 2 years with Bock Realty Group.
Right.
Again, where does the time go? It really does feel like just yesterday. And I had this conversation with Nuno a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was like, can you believe that you've been on the rig? Like, it's been 2 years for you.
It's wild.
It really does feel like yesterday. And I want to get into and I know obviously you were at TexAgs for 10 years, and we'll get into I want to talk a little bit about very, very beginnings, but how difficult of a decision was it to leave? Because and I know you had great reasoning, so it's not just it wasn't difficult to leave because you decided to leave. Like it was a different path going to work with Megan, right? Obviously, but still you're leading something you've done for a decade.
We started that show August 26, 2011. The last show was June 11th, 2021. So we were exactly 10 years on the show.
What a run.
But remember, I got hired full-time by TexAgs. You may not know this, but I got hired full-time by TexAgs in August of 2008. And so I spent 3 years with TexAgs before we started the show. There's kind of a misnomer that I got hired by TexAgs to do the show. But, started my career at KBTX, radio at the Zone, WTAW, a little bit of time on the weekends with Nuno in Houston. That's another little interesting fact.
Yeah, I think he dropped that nugget in his interview. Yeah.
Fall of 2007, we started a little radio show called 1560 The Game. Nuno and his buddies. John Harris was one of the first hosts.
With the Texans?
With Shawnee the Cablinasian, the guy that won all those Rome smack-offs who wound up being a radio host. And it's Sean Pendergast, one of the most popular Sports Radio 610. But one of the most popular hosts on Sports Radio 610, Sean Pendergast.
Yep.
And Pendergast was on that same station with John and Lance. It was an incredible lineup until they screwed it up. It started going too corporate. But when it was locally owned, David Gow, that was an incredible show. And so Nuno just needed help on the weekends getting it going.
Right.
So when A&M played at home, I would go down on a Sunday because I had to cover home games. When A&M played on the road, I was able to go down and do college football on Saturdays. So just kind of helped him. That's where we really developed a great relationship.
Right.
He had been here initially, so we got to know him here, and then we developed a great relationship back 2007. And then I was helping Billy out just whatever I could to keep getting my foot in the door.
Right.
And then August 2008, I get hired full-time by TexAgs. And you got to remember what August of 2008 was like. So you're coming off Fran. Think about the fan base. Let's think about this in reality, practically. We were about as down as we could be as a fan base.
I try not to remember that.
You got to remember, TexAgs didn't have a homepage.
Right.
Any content was Billy posting whenever he wanted to, and that's it. There was no, other than Billy, that was it.
That was it, right.
So even Billy realized, he had the vision, and Brandon Jones had the vision of how do we really grow this thing?
Yeah,
well, number one, we need help from the daggone football team, which still, honestly, you can make a case, has never happened. So from 2008 to right now, we're talking 15 plus years. 15 years, and it's been glimpses and little moments,
but
right?
But that they've been able to build despite that.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, so they hired us in 2008. Company had 1,400 subscribers, and it was an incredible just growth from that point forward. So for 3 years, and we started, what really helped us, I think, a couple things. 2010 conference realignment and the idea of moving to the SEC, and right place, right time. There's nobody in our town better at networking than Billy, right? And we know he's the ultimate insider. And so working at a small company called TexAgs, there was a niche, and there were people on there, 250,000 people, a day basically on the site. It was still a big site, but it was a niche forum only kind of thing. And we started the content for 2 years, grinded through it, tried to make some subscribers here and there, and then 2010 hits. And Billy was breaking stories left and right about the SEC every day. And then I think what really helped us was the heartbreak of Dr. Lofton, who sat at this table just a month ago or so. One of my closest friends. Do a podcast with him. Sat Dr. Lofton making the decision that we were not going to the SEC in 2010. We hated it, but what that did for TexAgs was a whole year of build-up and speculation as to will we eventually make the move.
Oh, I can't imagine the site traffic.
Oh my gosh! And that move that never went away. And then we got the Cotton Bowl. So it was a nice year on the field. 2010, we made that run. Remember beating OU, Nebraska. Got to the 2010 Cotton Bowl. That was the LSU games. We got whacked. Got up early and then got smoked. And then, Vaughn leaves, everything. That was the Butkus year with Vaughn.
Right.
And then you make the move going into 2011. And while that was a crappy season on the field where you get up 17 and lose, get up 18 at Arkansas and lose, remember the Okie State game?
Yes.
You lose these games. But the build up in that going into 2011 and then the eventual about week 3, I think it was 2 days after that Oklahoma State game, maybe 3 days later. So it was in season when A&M officially made that move. And there was so much news to be shared. And at the forefront pinnacle of all of that was Billy. So you go from 2008 to 2011 having 3x'd probably in revenue. And Brandon can tell you more, but just incredible growth for a little company. And then Johnny happened. So the blowout of Manziel. And so we started that show, remember, go back to August 26, 2011. 3 weeks later, A&M makes the move to the SEC. So we got lucky. This wasn't the growth and popularity initially of TexAgs wasn't because we're all awesome at talking. It wasn't that. It was because.
But you are. If that makes you feel.
But it's not necessarily. It was we got lucky, and I wasn't. Go look at the open.
Hey, luck counts.
I sucked. Go look at the first. Sometimes from fun, I'll listen back. It's terrible. And
Nuno sat here for like a solid 8 to 10 minutes telling us how terrible he is at his job. It was hilarious.
Well, yes, I felt the same. Not about him, but about me, because I definitely love my man Nuno, and that's who we got recommended for my replacement.
Right.
Nobody better could possibly be in that role than Nuno. And he's made that show his own, and he's done an incredible job. But it was a matter of timing. We launched that show in 2010, and they came to us in 10, and we said, no, we weren't ready for it. In 2011, we were. The day I have my first show still. It's framed.
The one that's like in a closet, basically.
Yeah, it's in the closet. It's in the red closet. Yep, yeah. It is. It is in the, yep. There used to be these little lights would pop because they were the actual heated lights. Yeah, it was terrible. We had a fire in the studio. That first year was. I'm surprised they kept us on the air, honestly. But what happened was timing. I go back and I look at that clock. In the third segment of the history of TexAgs radio is, will A&M make the move to the SEC? Will it happen today? I have it in the notes. Will it happen today? So you got to think about being an Aggie, and you're just looking for information. Now Billy's going to be on for 2 hours. Not just breaking down like we got a game in a week.
Yeah.
But we also
so much more information.
And coming off Cotton Bowl.
And so much more information than just talking about games.
Yeah. And then Johnny happened, and then it exploded, and it was an incredible time. And
then you had to make the decision, though.
Yeah, I mean, just have to make big boy decisions eventually. And I don't know what it was. I mean, 2018 was great. Jimbo, first year. 2019 kind of wore me out. I have no idea why. But I remember driving to Denison, where I'm from. Mm-hmm. I was really tired. It's Christmas. I'm going to Christmas.
Right.
Just like I always do. Yep. And I get it. I'm tired all the time. I mean, it's long hours. It's great. Loved every second of it.
It's just part of the job.
Part of it. I mean, you think about doing a show on a Friday. You travel to Columbia, South Carolina. You get back at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. You still got content to do for the site, and then you do it all over again. I mean, it wears on you. Yeah. But I loved it. Like, it was a dream job.
Yeah.
But so I was used to being worn out in December. But this is a little bit different. I remember looking at a sign that said, like, Champion School of Real Estate. And I remember just making a joke to Megan that maybe I'll just do that. And I remember her saying, hell no. And the reason she said it was because it's commission-based only. And could we both do that and put all our eggs in the real estate basket, knowing that this was a very solid, incredible, I mean, TexAgs took wonderful care of me. Right? And so to give that up and just go into the great unknown was a non-starter for Megan eventually. So that was like mid-December, December 14th or 15th, and we prayed about that decision for 13 months until June 18th of 21, when I was just asking the good Lord to give me an in with Billy so that I could broach the subject. Mm-hmm. And the in was somebody that we know very well got laid off by ESPN. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, I bet Billy would love to hire that guy. Well, he didn't end up doing it. And he wouldn't have been a great fit for this role, but maybe you switch up roles, throw Zane in. I mean, who knows? Who knows what they could have done to hire that guy?
Right.
And I'm like, but he actually can. He just doesn't know he can. This is my in. And so on June 18th, I go into Billy. Remember, this is like 10 months. We're in the middle of a pandemic here.
Right.
Billy's a hype contract. So I call Billy. He's germaphobe.
Yeah, he's at home with his dog.
Yep. And I call Billy, and I'm like, dude, I got to come over. It's like 10 p.m. on a Friday. And I call him, and he wouldn't let me in the door. So he opened the door in from the garage to the kitchen, to the like mud room that leads into the kitchen. He's cooking, and I'm in the garage.
I don't know why I can't.
10 to 12 feet distance, double for Billy.
No,
not 6.
I can't picture Billy cooking. I don't know why.
Oh, he was in the cook zone, and he just got all fit and everything.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was cooking like
he was meal
chicken,
prepping.
fish. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was meal prepping, walking 5 miles a day, and then I cried like a son of a gun. I don't even know how I even communicated to him that I had to walk away.
Yeah,
and it was that moment where we decided that this was the best thing, and I was still under contract, but they were so good to me of understanding my situation, plight, desire to change I don't know, I'm coaching travel baseball now. I've got a 14-year-old daughter who's a cheerleader,
well, you got kids that are in that age
basketball,
right now where they're just, all three of them are in 500 different directions.
We used to go 90 miles an hour in two totally different directions every single day. And at the end of the day, try to come back to center and figure out how to do life.
Right.
Now, we go 100 miles an hour, but at least we're going in the exact same direction.
Right.
We get off the exit, she's still going, then we get back on, we're still running the same race.
Right.
So I really felt in my heart that if we didn't make this move, that life would just get a little untenable, man. And we had to make the right decision with where we knew our kids were getting ready to get into. They're only getting busier.
Well, yeah, and that plays such a huge part into it as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you were empty nesters, then maybe that decision isn't the same.
Right.
You know, maybe it's not.
Yeah, so a tear-filled few months. I remember May 3rd, right after the NFL draft, going on Monday and announcing that I would have 6 weeks left to live in radio. And then 6 weeks later was June 11th, which was my last show. And got through it somehow, some way,
Yeah,
and really just crashed for about 3 days.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, what was life like when you left the military? I don't know.
It's such an emotional buildup, and then and you're building up to be done with something, and then you're done with something, and you're like, it doesn't like come crashing down on you in a depressing way.
You just let down a little bit emotionally.
It's just so much like, it's such an exhale that you need you need to decompress period.
And at that time, I also studied for the exam. I didn't have a job. My job was to pass.
Your job was to study.
And then you go into the unknown of how we're going to build it.
Yeah.
And at that time, just within another brokerage, being an agent together. And we were forced to start a team because when you're not technically a solo agent, you need to have a team because you're not just yourself anymore. So
right. I mean, going into this industry as a solo agent is death.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Megan did that for over 8 years.
Yes, how few people like survive that, just going solo from the beginning and just trying to figure it out. And obviously, and that's why she's as successful as she is because she was one of those where when it's absolutely miserable, then you tell yourself, I'll quit tomorrow. And then when you wake up in the morning, you say, all right, I'll quit tomorrow. Then all of a sudden, you're 8 years down the road, you've built this amazing career because you just understood that you really kind of Sometimes this job is last year in the spring, right? All you have to do to be a realtor is to literally have a phone that is charged.
Wake up,
that was pretty much
in your pajamas, and write offers.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah. No, this is an effort market now. It's totally different.
And sometimes this market is just such a it's a grind, and it's everything's cyclical. It's not just this market, just the industry in general. And her cutting her teeth, really on starting at the bottom kind of rung of it and doing leases, and look at where she's at now. Obviously
pregnant with baby number 2, pregnant with Easton, I believe, or maybe a newborn, anyway, one way or another, and did 71 leases and cried every day.
Yeah, but you got through it.
So that's what we tell these college kids, like, all right, Megan, as a mother of 2, did leases. Nursing mom, walking into a frat house.
Yeah.
Smelled like God knows what. No, Lord only knows what's going on in there. And you're 30-something, right?
Right.
If 32-year-old can do it, I think almost anybody can do it.
Yeah, fairly certain. Yeah, absolutely.
It is not fun, though, not for the faint of heart. But it's been really great to watch it all play out. She's kept me too busy to even remember that I used to host a radio show. And we just go forward. Try to make tomorrow better than yesterday.
You do run around a little bit with, maybe that's what happened is he started, when he first started in real estate, he was running around with his hair on fire, and now that's what we end up with. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm wondering how I'm going to handle this tomahawk, so I'm trying to figure out.
And so one thing I want to kind of get into, and I want to backtrack, and then we'll come back to BRG, is obviously you're with Bock Realty Group. Well, you are part of again,
I am with her.
So
in the biblical sense,
but you're still able to do content creation, and I know that's something that's special for you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the 2 you're doing is you obviously have Follow the Money with Dr. Lofton, and then you also have the Film Room with Stephen McGee, which might be my favorite segment every week. I love the Film Room. I love the way McGee breaks it down, and y'all have a great dynamic too.
So good.
How important is it to you to be able to? Well, obviously your full-time job is being a husband and a dad, but just professionally speaking, your full-time job really is real estate.
Yeah.
But how important is it to you to be able to still kind of keep maybe just kind of one toe in the shallow end to be able to still do content and kind of still be able to touch that world?
That's a good way to put it, because I think I really clung to it when I first left. I was doing Wednesdays on TexAgs Radio. I was doing film room offense. We brought in Ty Warren, film room defense. I was still running the pick six contest.
Oh, had a hard time letting it go.
I was still doing the stat thing on Sunday mornings, and I was still doing former player reactions.
Former player reactions.
And maybe a couple more. Like, that's a lot of content, dude.
Yeah, that's like a full time.
Or trying to build a real estate career from scratch and learn it, right? And still learn the industry and learn and market and figure out how to find business and grow my sphere of influence and grow my relationships within the sphere of influence. Mm-hmm. While also, I think probably the human side of me still was holding on to that as an identity. Mm-hmm. And so trying to stay as in as I could, while also honestly trying to honor the fact that I still had 2 years left in my contract.
Right.
So I leave, and in the world of broadcasting, if you leave, it's only typically for another job in broadcasting. Mm-hmm. And so you have like a clause in there, yeah, or a buyout, things like that. But TexAgs was so good about it. Like, I honestly believe it was Billy's finest hour as a boss. That dude was unbelievable to me in the 6 months from when I broke the news to him until I left.
Yeah.
And thereafter. But that was his finest hour.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to get Nuno here. Mm-hmm. I think the way he handled that whole thing was with incredible maturity, communication, clarity, and just went out and got it done.
Well, I think
he did what he wanted to do, and he and Brandon got it done. And I think that was.
And I think it's, if you're able to step back and just kind of take a professional view, as somebody that doesn't do broadcasting, but somebody that, you know, I just kind of understand how the world works a little bit. If you step back, the professionalism of Brandon and Billy is very evident just in how everything is done, both the radio side, the production side, you know, the forums, the boards, how it's all done. I mean, you have other schools now that use their code because they went out and found the right one, and it's the way it's set up.
Oh, it's incredible.
So that professionalism, it's not surprising to hear that spills over in the other parts of it.
Yeah, so I wanted to honor that as much as I could because they honored me knowing that I'm not leaving for another gig.
Right.
And I'm leaving because I have to.
Right.
I want to and I have to, but it has nothing to do with sports, broadcasting, or TexAgs or A&M. And so, but I do think there was a fair amount of just identity to it of, man, this is who I am. This is what I know.
I were for so long. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be good at all at real estate, you know? So, and then over time, kind of cutting that in half. And now, I think you bring a great point up here is it's dipping your little toe into the shallow end now. Just to stay involved, to scratch that itch. Mm-hmm. To do nothing, I think, in sports would be,
it would
be a sad state of affairs because it's a huge part of who I am. It's a huge part of what I love. I still wake up every day and look at box scores.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, this guy is kind of like a frightening encyclopedia of sports statistics. It's moderately uncanny. I'm assuming you had a 4.0 in school because I'm fairly
certain. Scary, and I wasn't a very good.
Fairly certain you have an eidetic memory. Maybe it's only for sports stats.
I think it probably
that's what it is. If it looks like a box score, he'll remember it all.
It's all about completely useless information. Unless I'm a phone a friend on some show that probably doesn't exist anymore.
That checks out. Useless information, I am also full of it.
Oh, that's about it.
Fair.
Useless information involving sports, and that's about it, honestly. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, the fact that DiMaggio, during his 56-game hitting streak, hit like 407, and Ted Williams, during DiMaggio's hitting streak, hit 418. Who had the better run? The guy that had one hit in 56 games in a row?
Or the guy who had the better average?
Or the guy who had a 500 better slugging during that same exact span? How about Kyle Schwarber has struck out like 45 more times this year than Tony Gwynn struck out in the 90s.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
I love that
Useless.
stuff.
Useless. But hey, it's water cooler stuff.
It is. That's fair. Very water cooler. All right. So I'm going to ask you one more question, then we'll kind of wrap this up. What's next? Because, again, you know, like we said at the beginning, we have our specialties, but look, if it's real estate, we're going to do it. You know, we'll care for our clients in any way that they need it. It's kind of how I look at it. Mm-hmm. But You know, what's because it's you and Megan. Y'all are a team here. You know, what's really next? Oh, and by the way, I always get the husbands out of the way first. I'm going to have her on afterwards. I got Hunter Shirtliff out of the way just so I could talk to Marka, basically.
Oh, yeah. Has Marka been on yet?
Yeah.
Rock star.
She's absolutely awesome.
Did she say she's going to run for Brian Mayer anytime soon? She probably should.
She let it out of the bag, but it was a little bit of a commercial just because it was kind of awesome, and she totally should. I know, right?
She's
you need
incredible.
to text her that. I will totally endorse you.
As a native or as a resident of College Station, Marka Ewers has my full endorsement for Mayor Brian.
But again, back to Bock Realty Group, and I think we've made so many strides in such a short period of time. We having changed to real brokerage and just how the team has grown. And I don't want you to let out like any kind of secrets because you guys are trying to kind of hold on some stuff. But like, what's next? Like, what's really the next big thing that the Bock Realty Group is going to bring to really? And I call it the Greater Brazos Valley because I'll basically drive all the way to the big cities in all three directions. I'll just stay outside the city limits. Once it gets inside the city, I don't know the market, but generally I know the markets on this side of all those cities, and I'll drive. Apparently, I did this. I drove so far east. I was waiting on somebody to start speaking French from one of my trips. So we cover. I like to call it the Greater Brazos Valley. Really.
Yep.
So what's next? Like, what can people expect from Bock Realty Group? Seller seminars. We do have that.
Yeah. It's so interesting because you know this is factual. This isn't for camera. I ask Megan that weekly because I like to kind of get in our deal and let's go do our deal. And you know how much she loves reading, researching, taking ideas, masterminding with other people. Like, oh, we can implement that. Yeah. Oh, boom, that's great. We can implement. We just went to Chicago. We got a ton of ideas on the document.
Like you better believe.
Yeah, and I am drinking from a fire hose, and at the end my head hurts, and I don't want to think about it for 3 days. She takes copious notes and says, we're doing this, this, this. She's sending a lot of videos to you guys at the event.
Yep.
Literally during a water break, a restroom break, like, oh, we're going to do this. Boom, we're going to do that. We're changing up our meeting.
Well, and a week later, we've already started to implement these things.
Oh, yeah. No, that's why she's a true entrepreneur, and she's great at that side of it. But I'll say this. I think what's next is we have been in a state of massive change, right? 2 years ago, I'm in a different industry.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we're basically brand new team, husband and wife, trying to figure out real estate, life, family, all rolled into one, just meshed together.
Yep.
How to be the leader of my house, co-leader of this organization, kind of thing. And then we decide to leave, we change our name, rebrand, kind of go with Real Broker and do something more on our own.
It was almost a total, I don't know if reset's the right word. But
that was December 1st of last year. So I've only been in the industry 2.5 years. And I think now we know our brokerage, we know our brand, we know our team.
We know our market.
And we need a little help. The controllables are what we're trying to get really good at. And then there's a whole bunch of luck you got to have along the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And preparing yourself, like I said in the meeting today, is plowing those fields, right? And that farmer, it can get a little stressful in times like this when interest rates are approaching 8, things like that. But by God's provision, on the whole, we're going to sell more houses this year than we did last year. And that's ridiculous. Like that doesn't happen
about last year's market. Again,
yeah, it was just so much easier. But we will sell more houses this year than we did last year on the whole. Now, this is a very slow quarter right now, so plow the field.
Right.
Like, don't sit there and wait around and wait for the flood to come on something you hadn't planted in the dirt.
When it seems the slowest is when you got to work the hardest.
No question.
Because the fruits don't bear next week.
Yeah.
It's months down the line. But then, you don't become an apple farmer until you have your first apple harvest. And then really you're still an apple farmer until you've had multiple harvests.
Yeah.
And so it's that rotation of work to harvest, to work, to harvest.
Wait for that flood to come. So I think we're in a really good spot right now. I love our culture. I love our group. I think we have really good people.
Oh, I love the team.
Yeah. So absolutely. Now it's about maybe adding a little bit here and there. Like we just brought in Rhett. I think he's been really good for us. And then it's like
fine-tuning skills.
Fine-tune and just now go do the work.
Yeah.
Our CRM's in place. Everything's in place. We know we're at real long term. We know where we're supposed to be.
We can settle.
We also moved in a new building.
Yeah, we can.
So, and we built a house. Like, we're kind of in a settle and let's go do the work mode.
Yeah, now we can kind of settle in, and there's not as many like variables. Some are controlled, some are not controlled.
Yeah, we just want to care for people and serve people well, honestly.
Perfect.
And I think we got just the right people to do that as a group.
Now, I'm going to have you plug it, and I'll also have Megan plug when she comes on. But if you don't plug it, she's going to kill you. So you want to talk about the Jingle Bell Market?
Oh, no doubt. All right, Jingle Bell Market is November the 12th, Pebble Creek Country Club. Doors open at noon. It's a 4-hour Christmas shopping event. This thing started 10 years ago at TexAgs with 11 vendors. We tried to create a sponsorship or a charitable element to it with donations, and we raised $25 the first year for our donor, for our sponsor, which was wonderful.
Better than nothing. Better than nothing.
Somehow, some way, we've kind of figured out that side of it. And the last 2 years, we've raised about $10,000. So the goal is $10,000 for Bee Community. Then they make all kinds of different things, and soaps and these they're just helping folks in town that have mental disabilities and just need support and need to be loved on. And they just love on people in our community that sometimes are forgotten, quite frankly, and that's sad. So Bee Community is an incredible service organization that is doing great work in the Brazos Valley. And what we try to do, before that it was OnRamp, and OnRamp's a huge organization now, but in its infancy, OnRamp was the beneficiary. And refuge play. So OnRamp gives free cars, but kind of like Habitat for Humanity, gives free cars away for people who need transportation. Maybe they got 2-3 jobs, they're taking public transport. Then they got 5 kids at home. All right, how's that going to work long term? So giving them a car, and then Refuge Place, they're housing and feeding and clothing the homeless in Bryan College Station.
Right. Yeah.
And there's more than you think.
Yeah.
And so $100 to every transaction that we do goes to Refuge Place, BCS.
Yeah, that's every transaction. That's not just like for a month, or that's every transaction every year goes to Refuge Place.
So we're doing
Bee Community for the Jingle Bell Market.
It was OnRamp 2 years ago in its infancy. It was Refuge Place last year, more in its infancy.
And this year
and Bee Community's been around forever, but there's no reason not to get the word out about the great job they're doing. And so we're really excited to do that, and hopefully raise a lot of money for them, and hopefully everyone gets to get their Christmas shopping done early on November the 12th, Pebble Creek Country Club.
November the 12th. Yeah.
And the goal is to get 1,000 people through the door. I think we had 900 to 950 last year.
I will say I had no intention to spend any money when I was there, and I definitely spent money. I'm also a Christmas junkie, so there's that.
Absolutely.
All right. Last question. I ask all my guests. You're having a dignitary over, or somebody that you need to impress, right?
All right. What would that be like?
Let's say Rick
Dion?
Perry. Let's say Rick Perry's coming to town, and like you're pitching him something, or something like that.
All right.
You got to impress him, and you got to cook ribs. What's your process? Go. And if there's some secrets, you don't have to tell anybody. But how do you do your ribs?
I'll give you the secret right now. Everybody ready for this? Mm-hmm. I'll call Chad. I'll call Cooper's. I'll be like, "Man, give me your best rub. Give me your best ribs. I'm giving this away now. And give me all the good sides. And then I'm going to bring Tupperware in. And then and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fire up the egg, right? So keep it on super low. Have it all wrapped. And then when he comes over, and it's all kind of just smoky just enough. Oh, and then he's going to be like, dang, you used your egg? Like that, what was your process?
I think
I'll be like, it's a secret. I can't tell you.
I feel like the fact that you thought through it far enough to be like, and then I'll bring my Tupperware up. I'll make sure I get it wrapped.
Absolutely.
Make sure I get the green egg going. All right. Well, so there you go.
That's what I do. I'd go to Cooper's, and I would trick him to think I cooked it myself.
That's fair. All right. Well, Gabe, appreciate you coming on. Again, Gabe Bock with Bock Realty Group.
It's hard to outdo OB. I know I wasn't going to do it, but I just wanted to give you a couple stories.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor to work both with and for you and Megan. I've absolutely loved it. Again, brother. Coming to you from Cooper's Old Time Barbecue. Cooper's Aggieland. Oh,
Roy gave me my biggest audience I ever had in my media career. 50,000, the first Midnight Yell at the new renovated stadium.
Oh, yeah.
So I owe you one, brother.
We used to have guest speakers at Midnight Yell.
And this is the second biggest platform I've ever had at Cooper's.
No, that y'all was fun.
That was good.
But again, Cooper's Egg Lane on the bypass. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we will see y'all next time. Gig 'em.